They are exceptionally dangerous. Even with the aid of instruments and treatment, people still lose control every year, which is truly regrettable. I don't recommend you looking into these matters. Can you understand? Zhang Yu smiled faintly upon hearing this. I know, thank you, Uncle Lu. Then he changed the subject. But this year it's a unified martial arts exam, right? There's no escaping it. Besides, it's better to rely on yourself than on others. If the sky falls, there's always someone taller to hold it up. Just keep a calm mindset. Uncle Lu shook his head helplessly and was just about to speak when the phone suddenly rang. As he answered the phone, it turned out to be a call from the bureau, an urgent mission in the shadow layer. Upon hearing this, Uncle Lu immediately got up and prepared to leave. Before leaving, he didn't forget to turn back and warn Zhang Yu. I'm off on a mission, Zhang Yu. You better behave yourself, kid. If I catch you again, next time I'll drag you back to Night Watcher. Zhang Yu patted his chest confidently. Don't worry, Uncle Lu. Lu Yaoyao and I definitely won't do anything out of line again. Upon hearing this, Lu Yaoyao spat out a mouthful of water. She immediately pinched Zhang Yu's face and said through gritted teeth, What do you mean again? We didn't do anything before either. You're doing this on purpose, aren't you? Arg. The male lead really needs to check the almanac before going out from now on. As the end of the year approaches, Candied Hawthorne, the streets and alleys are gradually bustling with activity, while Zhang Yu is shopping in the supermarket. While watching the recruitment ad for Night Watcher playing on the big screen, he still felt a bit regretful in his heart. He had intended to review more materials, but Uncle Lu returned too quickly, so he only managed to read some basics. With Uncle Lu's temperament, he must have hidden it away afterward. I'm afraid there's no chance of seeing it again. Just thinking about it makes me sigh. He threw a bottle of soy sauce into the shopping basket. Just at that moment the phone rang. Zhang Yu took it out and saw that it was Lu Yaoyao calling. Lu Yaoyao wanted Zhang Yu to bring some things like milk and eggs. In the end, she hesitated to say more and just said, That's all. Zhang Yu, having known Lu Yaoyao for more than just a day, could tell from her tone that she actually wanted him to bring sanitary pads but was too embarrassed to say it outright. Thinking this, he picked up 2 packs of overnight pads and tossed them into the shopping basket. Once he had bought almost everything, Zhang Yu began to head back. There was still a month until school started, but the effectiveness of shadow training was becoming weaker and weaker. It seemed that relying solely on shadow training might not be enough. He needed to add some real combat practice. Suddenly, Zhang Yu realized that along the way, propaganda about combating xenomorphs is becoming increasingly widespread. It seems the mandatory expansion of the martial arts exam this year indicates that the situation in combating xenomorphs is not optimistic. He looked up at the sky, wondering if something bad would happen in the future, but for now he decided not to overthink it. Overthinking is annoying. Might as well find that xenomorph from before and have a fight to blow off some steam. Thinking this, he walked into a deserted alley, looked around and found no one else. He then activated Shadow Pupil. He immersed himself entirely into the world's dark side. However, upon arriving at the world's dark side, Zhang Yu immediately sensed something was wrong. Not far away in the indistinct shadows, a health bar with only 14 HP appeared. He quickly went on guard and shouted, Who's there? And then from that corner came the sound of dragging footsteps, as if the person had trouble walking. Zhang Yu approached the corner and found that beneath the health bar was a young man. He was covered in blood, with several large bloody holes, and one leg was grotesquely deformed, dragging behind him. As the young man drew closer, Zhang Yu suddenly felt something was off. This person's face looked somewhat familiar. At this moment, Zhang Yu suddenly remembered something and leaped backward 2 steps. He exclaimed in surprise, You seem to live in the same building as me. What are you doing here? The young man did not respond. Or perhaps he was in no state to answer. As if all his strength had left him, he collapsed to the ground. Zhang Yu watched the scene, unsure of what to do. The young man before him had only 14 HP left, a near-death state. Should he save him or not? Wait, something felt off to Zhang Yu. Not far behind the young man there were actually 2 children. How could such young kids have entered the dark side? Looking more closely, the xenomorph floating near the 2 children, ready to strike, looked increasingly familiar to Zhang Yu. Suddenly, Zhang Yu immediately assumed a battle-ready stance. He growled in a low voice, What are you doing here? So this remaining 24 HP ghost. It turns out to be the one that fought Zhang Yu for so long. The male lead transforms into a kidney-crazed maniac. Today, Ghost, your kidneys are definitely going to get messed up. Glancing at the scene before him, Jiangyu sized it up in an instant. This young man was probably from Night Watcher, but likely in a clerical or support role. The two kids had been dragged into the dark side by a xenomorph. The young man had probably stumbled upon the situation and entered the dark side in an attempt to rescue them. As a result, being in a clerical role, he didn't have strong combat abilities. Now the young man was covered in contamination. He probably took the kind of pill that Night Watcher distributes, the one that triggers a final burst of strength before death. Jiangyu really hit pretty close to the mark. So Jiangyu helped the young man up and let him rest against the wall for a while. Then he stood up. He rubbed his hands together, ready to deal with that ghost. Just as the young man looked at the confident Jiangyu in front of him, thinking he was some mysterious powerhouse, the ghost had already rushed over and punched him. Directly sent Jiangyu flying. The young man couldn't help but think to himself, this is just too damn weak. I'm tired, just hurry up and end it all. Then Ghost Xenomorph swiftly turned the bone blade in its hand, glowing with a red light, and slashed toward the young man. But at that very moment a hand carrying a gust of fierce wind reached out. That hand delivered a resounding slap to the Ghost Xenomorph, instantly distorting its face. A single slap actually knocked off 1% of its health. It may not be much damage, but the humiliation is off the charts. Turns out Jiangyu came running back. He waved the soy sauce bottle at the ghost and said, "Bastard, have the guts to look straight at me. Come on, let's have a couple of rounds with me." Then Ghost Xenomorph turned around and slashed at Jiangyu. Jiangyu shifted his feet and deftly dodged the attack. He gave the soy sauce bottle in his hand a slight heft. Then he swung it fiercely and smashed it onto the Xenomorph's body. The Xenomorph, in pain, raised its scythe and slashed down. Little did they expect, Jiangyu slipped stealthily to the back of the Xenomorph. With the broken half of a liquor bottle in hand, he stabbed straight at the Xenomorph's kidney. The Xenomorph was furious, its scythe-like claws slashing through the air with blinding speed. However, Jiangyu had already figured out its patterns. It simply couldn't land a hit. This only infuriated the Xenomorph even more. Moreover, while dodging, Jiangyu kept poking the Xenomorph's waist with a wine bottle, at least a dozen times in just a short while. Not much blood was lost, but the blood pressure sure spiked. In the end, it even backed off on its own. Now, as it looks at the broken bottle in Jiangyu's hand, its kidney starts to ache. The young man sitting over there couldn't decide whether to call Jiangyu awesome or a wimp. There was no technique at all, and every move was aimed at the kidneys, yet somehow he inexplicably managed to suppress the Xenomorph. Just then, Jiangyu reached out towards the Ghost Xenomorph hovering in midair. "The other day you gave me a little knife to the butt to open my eyes. Today I'll give you a stab to the kidneys." The ghost suddenly recoiled, then its lower body, resembling a long tail, whipped towards Jiangyu, sending him flying far away. Jiangyu struggled to get up. "I was careless, didn't dodge. I kept stabbing its kidneys so it was on guard." Seeing that one move had worked, the ghost immediately charged forward. Jiangyu was now in a dilemma. His health could only withstand 2 more hits. If he wanted to play it safe, the best option would be to withdraw from the dark side immediately. He could come back in a few days to settle the score, but turning a blind eye to someone in danger just wasn't his style. Finally, he gritted his teeth. This Xenomorph only had 20 health left. Today he was definitely going to stab its kidney. Just then the young man leaning against the wall shouted, "Its right ribs are severely injured. Attack there." Jiangyu accelerated directly toward the right side of the Xenomorph and lunged. "Got it. Watch this." Then the Ghost Xenomorph was severely injured on its right side. Upon seeing this, it instinctively covered its right side. Witnessing the scene, Jiangyu let out a wicked laugh. He shifted his form and appeared at the wide-open left side, thrusting the bottle at the kidney once more. This strike directly took off 2% of his health. That must be excruciatingly painful. Then the Xenomorph suddenly turned and ran, leaving Jiangyu stunned. Why did it run away? The Xenomorph leaped over the young man leaning against the wall. It lunged straight at the 2 children. The young man was instantly horrified. Oh no! It wasn't trying to escape. It intends to use those 2 children to regain its vitality. Just because you Xenomorphs can bite humans doesn't mean we humans can't bite back at Xenomorphs. Where's the logic in that? From the Xenomorph pouncing towards the 2 children, it moved so fast that within seconds it was right in front of the kids. The Xenomorph opened its mouth wide. It was about to bite down on the children's heads. The children were utterly powerless to stop it. The children could only watch helplessly as the giant, fanged mouth lunged toward them. But at that very moment a loud shout was heard. "Stop right there, you beast!" The xenomorph instinctively paused. Jiang Yu's veins bulged on his arms. He reached out and pulled out the limited edition cola he had just bought at a high price. He threw it with all his might at the xenomorph's crooked head. Xenomorph only felt a sudden gust of wind on one side, and hadn't yet figured out what was happening. That cola can was already right in front of its eyes. The xenomorph reacted with lightning speed, lifting its head in an instant to dodge the can hurtling toward it. But at that very moment, the young night watcher, who had been resting against the wall, he had already moved to the other side of the xenomorph. He pushed off with one leg, leaping high into the air using his only remaining good leg. He kicked straight toward that xenomorph. He landed the kick directly on the wound that had been inflicted earlier. The xenomorph let out a piercing, agonized howl, writhing in pain. The kick had clearly struck an already existing injury, adding insult to injury. It directly lost 3% of its health from that kick. And the young man also aggravated his internal injuries, coughing up a mouthful of blood. Xenomorph harbored deep resentment from that kick. It immediately turned around and lunged to bite the young man. Who would have thought its mouth was already right in front of him? But it was caught by a pair of large hands. Jiang Yu grabbed the xenomorph's head from behind and said with a sinister smile, "You bite people? I'll bite you to death, you little brat." With that, he opened his mouth wide and bit down hard on the xenomorph's neck. The xenomorph howled in pain. Never before had anyone dared to bite a xenomorph. Today was certainly an eye-opener. That bite took off 1% of its health, and it wasn't over yet. Jiang Yu grabbed the fluttering hair of the xenomorph. With a heavy press, he pinned the xenomorph to the ground, then like a street brawl, unleashed a barrage of fierce tiger-subduing fists on the xenomorph. While beating it he cursed, "Xenomorph, huh? You bastard, who do you think you're messing with? Keep barking like a dog. Bark again. I'll skin you and make a toilet seat out of your hide." This series of continuous strikes. He directly beat the xenomorph down to just 11% health. And that's not all. Jiang Yu was on a roll, his trash-talking skills flowing like a fountain. "Eating people, huh? Acting all tough, huh? I'll make sure you get your fill of fists. If I don't stuff you full today, my name isn't Jiang." Right at that moment, Jiang Yu suddenly noticed a glowing red orb flickering on the xenomorph's body. He was also taken aback, then immediately raised his hand. He inexplicably smashed toward that glowing orb. As his hand shattered the red light, Jiang Yu let out a loud shout. "You bastard, go crawl to hell." Suddenly, a powerful surge of energy erupted from the xenomorph, and it vanished within that burst of force. It completely shattered, its head blown off and flying away. Jiang Yu gasped for breath as he collapsed to the ground, covered in blood, most of it from the xenomorph. And at that moment the entire dark side began to tremble. The ground and other objects damaged by the fight began to reverse, gradually restoring to their original state. Jiang Yu paused for a moment, then reached out to brush aside his hair. He chuckled softly. "Finally, I've avenged my butt." Seeing that the young man and the two children in the distance were safe and sound, Jiang Yu felt a wave of relief, and as if all support had been drained from him, his vision went black and he collapsed to the ground. "Bro, I just saved you. It's not very cool of you to make fun of me." The city ablaze, streets littered with corpses. Jiang Yu couldn't process it at first. How had the settlement turned into this living hell? Suddenly, Jiang Yu was surrounded by countless indistinguishable xenomorphs, which roared and charged at him. Jiang Yu hadn't even realized what was happening before he was encircled by the xenomorphs, torn apart, finally vanishing amidst a blaze of flames. I don't know how long it had been. Jiang Yu faintly heard someone speaking. He forced himself to open his eyes and saw the young man from before. So he hadn't died, it was all just a dream. Thank goodness it was just a dream. However, after slaying the xenomorph he had passed out. He couldn't remember anything. Thinking of this, he realized the xenomorph couldn't go to waste. He then reached out and touched the xenomorph shell with his finger. He activated the Shadow Devourer. In an instant he devoured all the energy of the xenomorph. Yet the young man seemed to turn a blind eye and kept asking, "Are you okay? Why aren't you saying anything?" Jiang Yu quickly responded, I'm here. When he looked at the young man, he noticed that his health bar was only at 10%. This guy's condition was quite critical. According to the system's classification, 10% is considered near death. Prompt and professional rescue might still give him a chance to survive. The young man, seeing that Jiangyu was not seriously injured, breathed a sigh of relief. He patted Jiangyu on the shoulder and asked him to help him sit down against the wall. After sitting down, both of them let out a sigh of relief. The young man suddenly spoke up. Bro, you're not from the night watch, are you? Jiangyu was taken aback. Had he not recognized him? They lived in the same building, constantly crossing paths. How could there be no impression at all? Taking a closer look, he noticed the young man's pupils were dilated. It seemed he couldn't see anything. So he said, "No." The young man suddenly laughed upon hearing this and said, "I knew it. Struggling so much just to take down a first-tier xenomorph. Definitely not one of our night watchers." Jiangyu's face instantly darkened with frustration, thinking, "You really have no idea how to hold a conversation, do you? And here I just saved you." The young man finally stopped laughing and said, just kidding. You're actually pretty impressive. Using a soy sauce bottle to take down a xenomorph is definitely a first in history." Laughing, he suddenly started coughing violently. Jiangyu immediately panicked. Hey, are you okay? He thought to himself that this person really has a great mindset, still able to laugh even in such a state. The young man asked again, "Little brother, judging by your voice, what year of college are you in?" Jiangyu replied, "Capital Sentinel Academy. Starting my second year this semester." Jiangyu didn't say much more. It was better to keep his information vague for now. Little did he know, the young man suddenly became interested. "Oh, what a coincidence. You're actually my junior. Which major are you in, liberal arts or martial arts?" Jiangyu felt a headache coming on, thinking to himself, "Bro, please stop asking. Just rest already, you're still bleeding." The young man couldn't see Jiangyu's pained expression at the moment and instead muttered to himself, "It must be martial arts. Liberal arts probably couldn't handle a mid-tier first level." Suddenly, the young man reached out his hand and asked, "Hey buddy, do you have a cigarette?" Jiangyu scratched his head. "I only have baichi." The young man was taken aback. "Baichi? Biscuits? That works too, give me one." Jiangyu took out a biscuit and broke it in half. He handed half to the young man. The young man was speechless for a moment and said, "Why are you so stingy? You only gave me half a biscuit." Jiangyu pointed to the biscuit box that had fallen on the ground not far away. There was originally a whole box, but it all got crushed in the fight. "If you want some, I can crawl over and pick some up for you." The young man looked disgusted and said, "Get lost. If you want to eat it, go ahead and eat it yourself." So each of them had half a biscuit. Without chewing, they just held it in their mouths, leaned against the wall and began to rest. "Someone come quick. Who's going to take a stab at themselves? Is this guy Tang Sanzang? Why won't he just shut up already?" Jiangyu and the other person leaned against the wall, chatting intermittently. The young man was quite surprised to hear Jiangyu say it was his first time killing a xenomorph. He couldn't help but feel a bit envious of Jiangyu, who seemed to be a natural talent for combat. Unlike himself, who had poor aptitude and weak willpower, otherwise, he wouldn't have ended up in a clerical role. Even after taking a drug like Farsight, he still couldn't defeat a mid-tier first-tier xenomorph. Seeing him start to breathe heavily, Jiangyu couldn't help but advise, "Stop talking. Save your energy and wait for rescue." The young man waved it off casually. "It's fine. I just wanted to take the chance to have someone chat with me." Then he raised his hand and said, "Someone like me, in a clerical role. Willpower is like cotton fluff. No matter how much there is, it's still just fluff. When pollution strikes, how can it possibly withstand it?" Jiangyu, upon hearing this, asked, "Do you regret it? You could have chosen the ordinary path in the humanities. And as a civilian staff member, why would you come alone to the shadow layer?" The young man immediately clenched his fists and growled in a low voice, "Regret? I fucking do regret it. I'm just an office worker slacking off at work, flirting with girls. I'm training newbies, isn't life sweet? I must have something wrong with my brain rushing in on impulse. Now look, I can't get out." After saying that, he started coughing violently again. Jiangyu quickly stepped forward to console him. He had to, because this guy already had low blood volume, and if he kept it up, he might just bleed out. The young man waved his hand and pointed at the two children who had fallen into a deep sleep not far away, saying, "Don't worry, the rescue signal has been sent out. Help will be here soon." Jiangyu saw the signal-transmitting bracelet on the child's wrist and nodded with relief. Jiangyu stood up wanting to take a look, but was grabbed by the young man. "Stop running around, or if you run into a xenomorph again, Your mediocre skills won't even be enough to fill its teeth. Sit down and chat with me for a while longer.